History remembers the facts, but what about the phantoms that refuse to be forgotten? Welcome back to The Common Historian, where history meets the supernatural. I'm Jeremy, and each week we explore the haunting intersections between our past and the paranormal. Tonight, I'm joined by Master GongSun, a Taoist priest ordained in the ancient MaoShan tradition, a lineage with nearly 2,000 years of documented intersection with the spirit world. He's also as the founder of Sweet Divine Tao and brings a fascinating dual perspective as someone trained in both psychology and Taoist practice. Tonight, we're stepping outside the Western paranormal framework entirely to explore how one of the world's oldest spiritual traditions understands, encounters, and interacts with the dead. So grab your favorite beverage, dim the lights, and prepare to journey into the world where history refuses to stay buried. Welcome, Master Gunson. How are you?
Thank you very much. Yes, it's a pleasure to be on your show. Of course, I love the topic. It's my favorite topic, and so your show is right up my alley.
That's great. And I think that, my majority of United States listeners are going to find this very fascinating.
Well,
So,
absolutely.
so
We in the East have very different traditions from the West, as you'll soon see.
I know there's a big difference in perspective and different traditions. So I'm excited to kind of get into the questions.
Me too.
Uh,
And I've come armed with props. I have lots of props that I use in everyday practice.
oh, great.
Yeah, we'll get into them soon enough.
Oh, yes. Before we get into the tradition itself, can you tell us what led you from a psychology degree to becoming a Taoist priest?
That's a great question. It changed my life. There was an incident many years ago that literally changed my life. Do we have time to get into the nitty-gritty about my supernatural encounter, or should we save that till later? It's actually, I talk about it on my YouTube channel, Master GongSun Taoism, but I will tell a just a long story shorter because I'm mindful of the time constraints that we have.
Yeah.
So one time, many years ago, I was in rural Cambodia visiting a friend. And when I went there, the first thing he said to me was, "You should brace yourself and be a bit careful. Don't go out at night. Do not leave our gates at night because you will see a ghost." And I looked at him and I thought he was joking. He was probably just trying to scare me. Why not scare the big city slicker who's never been to the countryside? So I didn't think much of it. Anyway, so it's important to be mindful that in rural Cambodia, something happened 50 years ago. The Khmer Rouge came into power, and they were a communist regime that massacred a lot of people. And his village was especially affected. So I knew all that going in. Anyway, I'd never even stayed on a farm before, and there I was in rural Cambodia. It was nighttime, and I was working in my room when I heard the dog bark. So people in Cambodia, especially the countryside, they keep dogs to not actually to scare off robbers because in a small town where everyone knows everyone else, thieves and robbers are going to get caught. So it's not easy to rob someone else. But I was told by my friend that they keep rear dogs in order to scare off or alert us to the presence of evil spirits. That's why they keep dogs. So
Oh,
at 11 p.m., the dog began to bark. His name was Goo. And I'm a naturally curious person. So as soon as he barked, I went outside to see what was going on. And then he was barking at some passerby who was walking past the gate. So I'm thinking, okay, that's fine. I go back into my room. I work again another hour later. At midnight, I come back out and the dog barks like crazy again. And I'm thinking, well, probably another passerby, but let's see. Let's see what's happening. So I step out onto the balcony. So there I am on the second floor, the balcony. The dog's down below, barking at something in the northwest corner. So we can imagine there is a fence that separates my friend's house from the neighbor's, right? There is something standing between that fence and the neighbor's tractor. But he still, whatever that thing was on the neighbor's side. I shine my flashlight onto it, and it was some sort of, it looked like a mannequin that was covered, upper body was covered in blue cloth, lower body was covered in white cloth. I'm thinking, what the hell is that? Like my immediate reaction is just mystery. Like, what am I looking at? I don't drink, I don't take drugs, I don't drink alcohol or drink coffee. It's too early for sleep. I'm a night owl. I don't sleep until much later. So I'm perfectly sober here. So I turn off my flashlight. I'm thinking, okay, hallucination maybe. Probably not, but let's see, right? I turn it back on. The same thing was there. He is frozen in place. He's not looking at me. He is standing like, I would say, I can see his profile, perpendicular. Yeah. And then I turn it back off. I turn off the light, I turn it back on, and I'm thinking, okay, that thing is probably not there anymore, right? And he's still there. I'm thinking, what kind of person would stand there in such an awkward position between a fence and a tractor at midnight and then not turn his head when a stranger is shining a flashlight in your face?
Yeah.
That's when I got the feeling this is not human, whatever that thing is. Anyway, that's when fear took over. I was scared because we're always afraid of the unknown. And that was when I got back into my room, re-entered my room, and like, I'm gonna close the door. I'm gonna ask him about it, my friend about it in the morning. But I'm not going to deal with this anymore. Anyway, also I forgot to say the dog stopped barking after a while, but it was the fierce barking of the dog that alerted me to the presence of the creature. Anyway, the next day I talked to my friend and he's like, what you saw was a vengeful spirit. Apparently I have a rival in the village and he is very much against me. He's jealous of my accomplishments, so he sends these vengeful spirits to threaten and scare me. And the reason you saw a blue cloth covering the upper body of that spirit was that that vengeful spirit was actually someone I knew. He was my classmate who had died as a result of a car accident when we were 12. And I had personally placed the that blue cloth onto his corpse at his funeral when he had an open casket. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? I'm 30, like at that point I was in my 30s. So like for the first 30 years of my life, I had not experienced any sort of supernatural phenomenon. And then to have that happen to me, I'm thinking like there must be a reason that happened. And seeing is believing. Like I had not thought about the supernatural world for the 3 decades of my life. But then after that incident, I cannot deny what is right before me in front of my eyes.
Yeah.
Long story short, yeah, so that's what happened.
That's kind of what led you there.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, have you had any other supernatural experiences since then?
Yes, tons. I
Oh,
think it's because my third eye has been opened. So for those of us who are into spiritual development, psychic development, and all that, our third eye is right here. It's also our. They have different names for it in different traditions. In Hinduism, it's called the third eye or this third eye chakra. In Taoism, we say it is the yin. It is the heavenly eye. Tian yin literally means heaven's eye. And that's for us to sense things that our normal senses could not detect in general.
yeah.
And because of that, I can tell you briefly, I have like here in East Asia, we say someone has yin yang eyes. And when someone has that, that means they can see ghosts. Now, I
Oh,
saw it, so I have that too, but I have more of yin yang ears. I can hear them. I can hear knocking sounds. One time I was living in another city in Cambodia when there was a particular knocking sound every night at 3 a.m., right? And I didn't know what it was until because I moved into a new neighborhood and a new apartment. I didn't know where I was living until I realized, hey, wait a minute, why is there like a temple next door? I had not noticed the temple in the backyard. And it turned out I was living right next to a graveyard. Now, in the West, maybe some people are not bothered about that, but in the East, that's not a good thing. That's very inauspicious.
I actually lived near a graveyard for about 2 years, and the house that I lived in was very, very haunted.
Also, a lot of activity, right? Did you
Yes.
record some of it?
Back then, I wasn't really, you know, into it too much. That's what kind of got me into the whole thing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm very interested in it now. I wish I would have recorded some of it.
I recorded the knocking, but I don't think it was. I didn't have a good phone at that time, so I don't think I caught anything.
I would
Uh,
see full body spirits. I would see,
oh
there was an
wow.
older lady that I saw at least twice. I saw a woman in white walk through a wall.
So you have it
We,
too. You have what we Taoists call yin yang eyes. See, that's the most famous. That's the most famous concept that Taoism imported to the West, right? Concept of
yeah,
yin and yang. Yeah, everyone knows what the symbol is. Everyone's seen it,
yeah.
right? Yeah. So
Um,
you have it too, then. Yeah.
yes, yeah.
The gift.
Um,
Maybe it's
yeah,
not a gift, but
yeah.
it's an ability. Yeah.
An ability.
Depends how we
Yeah.
see it. Yeah.
You were continuing. I know I kind of interrupted your story.
Oh no, that's about it actually. Yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
weird knocking sound. Yeah.
Okay.
And later,
So,
I later learned that that knocking sound is a result of the spirits wanting their presence to be known. It's a way of announcing, "I'm here, here I am." Because according to my teacher and master, he said that it's the easiest sound for spirits to make because they no longer have a body. It is not possible for them to, pick up this peachwood sword, for example, right? They can't do it
yeah.
because they don't have a physical body, right? But if they study and learn hard enough, they can start to interact with their physical environment in spite of their spirit's body.
Yeah. So, kind of next, the Mao, the Mao Sha tradition has over 2,000 years of history. For people unfamiliar, how would you describe what makes it distinct from other Taoist lineages?
That's a great question. We are excellent at making,
Oh,
I don't know if you know what this is. This is
I
a,
don't.
oh, okay. It's okay. Most people don't. Most people not familiar with Taoism. It is a talisman.
Oh,
And this particular one allows us to see into the spirit realm. So there's many
oh,
ways to
nice.
activate it. You can burn it and then mix the ashes with water and then drink it, or you can burn it and then chant an incantation, right?
Oh,
And there are also certain talismans that bind ghosts. For example, this one here. This one subdue ghosts. And
oh,
I'll
so
can I can explain it quickly here.
yeah.
The three check marks are for they represent the three pure ones who are the highest gods in Taoism. And there are many divine manifestations of the Tao. So I still consider it a monotheistic religion. It's just that, for example, we have in Christianity, you have the a Holy Ghost and the Son and the Father, right? But they're all elements or facets, aspects of the same thing. It's like water is ice and water vapor and liquid water, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, so here, and this means, so we represent here we have the powers of the three pure ones, the highest gods in Taoism. Here we have a symbol, the Chinese character feng, meaning to invite, politely invite. And this means activate here, chi. This is ling down here, meaning to command. And these represent the five phases, water, earth, fire. There are similar elements in Western thought as well. But here it's interesting to know that here we are humans, we're helpless sometimes, but we also have a soul. So we're there's a divine spark of creation within us. And so we have the power to command certain spirits as well. So
Oh,
that's
very
why
nice.
we command this. And here is the symbol for, well, actually, this is a esoteric writing. Not even those who can read Chinese know what this is, but this is the symbol for a well. So we are subduing the ghosts and making them trapped inside the well down here.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yes, and that's what we're
Very
known for
fascinating.
in MaoShan style Taoism. The ability to write talismans and to make them effective and to subdue ghosts. And also, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I wrote a talisman to stop my grandma from having nightmares because she would talk in her sleep and act out her dreams. And then after I gave one to her, she said it stopped. She's had peaceful sleep. So
Oh, very
coincidence?
nice.
Probably not, because
Mhm.
this has happened many times to other people that have helped as well. So,
So I know, when I was looking up with the Maoshan, they have a historical reputation of spirit work and exorcism. Much of
yes.
that reputation is accurate to the actual practice. Do you guys do exorcisms? I know you trap ghosts, but I think the exorcism is more, at least in the Western side, more like demonic.
Well, we do exorcisms. There are lots of movies in Hong Kong cinema in the 80s, and they focus a lot on a certain creature in Chinese lore called a hopping corpse. It's essentially like the Chinese zombie, and a Taoist priest would be called to perform rites during a funeral. And if the person died in a state of extreme emotion, like anguish or vengeance or hatred, or if they died with too much yin energy, they can become a stiff, hopping corpse. Think of rigor mortis, the
Okay.
stiffness of a corpse after death, right? And then they're reanimated either by natural phenomenon, such as even being shown on by the full moonlight could reanimate them because the moon is yin,
Yeah.
and or they could be reanimated by evil sorcerers who bind them and force these hopping corpses to do their bidding.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they're very interesting. Now, in Taoist understanding, why do spirits remain earthbound rather than moving on?
That's a great question. This is how I would normally answer that. It's because we as human beings all have free will. I mean, right now, what you and I are thinking of, right? Like where our consciousness, right? Like that makes us us, right? And
Yeah.
that enables us to we use our mind to make decisions, right? So, if I'm thirsty, I'll grab a cup of tea, for example, right? There are those who die in such a state of unfinished business or anger or frustration that they refuse to move on until certain things have been resolved to their satisfaction. And it's because our willpower is strong. Like we always have willpower. And ghosts are no different because ghosts were once human, whereas we humans are simply waiting to become ghosts.
True. I never thought of it that way, really.
Yeah, that's a very Taoist Eastern way of thinking, actually. The
Yeah.
circle of life.
Now, does Taoism categorize different types of spirits or entities the way that Western kind of paranormal research attempts to?
Yes, there are because not every spirit was a human. There are some who were animals, and there are some who were not even ghosts. There are some we just called seeing meaning essence. So, for example, I myself watch a lot of Hong Kong-based talk shows where people call in and discuss their paranormal experiences. And there have been many documented cases of people. These are just case studies. They're from their personal experience. They would go mountain hiking, they would camp overnight, and they would see some weird creature that looks like a mini mountain or a mini tree. And I've also seen pictures and recordings of like a mini tree essence, we call it, or tree demon. I guess you can call it a demon, but not because the word demon is different in the East. Because in the West, demon is associated with evil and wanting to harm people, whereas spirit is more of a neutral term in the East. Like, because not every essence or spirit wants to harm us. I mean,
Okay.
they're just existing
Yeah.
like we are.
Yeah, they're existing and,
Yeah,
we might maybe get in their way.
yeah, yeah. That's right. We have a saying in the Chinese language. We say "井水," and it means literally the river water does not interfere or bother with the well water. And that just means that if you don't bother me, then I don't bother you, right? We
Yeah.
go our own separate paths, and we don't try to interfere with each other.
Yeah. And in the West here, we actively try to communicate with them, with the spirits.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's something similar. I mean, you have the Ouija board in the West. In the East, we have something called the dish, actually, the spirit of the dish. We use an actual dish and with writing, and then we move it around the board. So, but written in
so
Chinese. So it's something similar, actually.
outside your own experiences, does the MaoShan tradition have documented historical accounts of significant spirit encounters?
Yes, lots, actually. The sect itself is known for spirit binding. So, like, we don't interfere with them unless they are causing harm to humans. But there's lots of tales that have become lore or even legendary at this point. For those of us familiar with Eastern lore, there's always the very famous Journey to the West, which is about during the Tang Dynasty. So this is around the time of the fall of the Roman Empire. There was a Tang Dynasty in China, And there was a monk called Han San Zhang, and his mission, he was tasked by the Tang Emperor to go to India to get sacred Buddhist scriptures. Now, I know Buddhism is not Taoism, these are separate religions, but sometimes they intermix a bit due to a Chinese concept called syncretism, where instead of fighting everything, we decide to just adapt it and accommodate it and make it one of us. That's a very yin concept, actually. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, lots of those legends where the monk and his three disciples, including the Monkey King, they go to India and then they encounter lots of different spirits, like spider demon, spider essences, and people want to eat the monk's flesh because he's supposed to give longevity or immortality to whoever eats his flesh. Anyway, so but that's been recorded, but that's like semi-legendary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, a lot of the people, my subscribers in the US probably aren't familiar with it. So it's really nice to, you know, kind of learn a little bit about that.
Yes.
Now, ghost festivals and ancestor veneration are woven into many Asian cultures. How does the cultural relationship with the dead differ from the Western approach of treating hauntings as something to investigate or eliminate?
I think it's around the same because it really depends on what the haunting is doing to the inhabitants. Some people actually decide to live together peacefully, coexist in harmony with the ghosts, and that's perfectly fine. Sometimes ghosts could be helpful. They could help you get, an A on your test or to, rob a bank, right? I mean, it depends on the kind of relationship you have with them. We practice something similar in MaoShan style, except that sometimes I mean, we also take on other people's practices sometimes and make it our own. For example, I have something like this. This is of Thai origin.
Oh,
I just recently bought it. I don't intend to do much with it as of right now, but what people do with it in Thailand, and it gets kind of dark, but I think it's perfect for your show.
oh, it
Uh,
is. It would be,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. So Thailand, everywhere, there are unwed mothers who have unwanted children, who are pregnant, but without desiring to be so. Sometimes they have abortions, and then these aborted fetuses, they're already supposed to have a spirit enter. So what the black magician or the black sorcerer would do is to actually go to these abandoned places or even the backyards of hospitals where the fetuses are dumped. And then they would chant some spells. They would gather the fetuses, bring them home, chant some spells, and basically capture the fetus inside one of these, the spirit,
Oh,
I mean. And then
yeah.
you would raise them as your own children, and they would do your bidding for you.
Oh,
Now, yeah, so it gets kind of dark, but then again, it's mutually beneficial, right? Because the logic is that, well, their mother didn't want them, but I want them,
yeah, yeah.
right? And anyway, it was of course, certain things are not legal in Thailand. Like, for example, the actual ritual is that you have to roast the fetus.
Ooh.
As I said, it gets really dark. But I think it's what your audience are curious about. This is Thai
Yes, they're
style cult.
curious.
Yeah, I am currently in Cambodia right now, and we are neighbors with Thailand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just bought just really for decoration, really. Actually, I
No,
I don't
no
practice
spirits
that kind of
attached to
magic.
it.
No, no, I don't practice that kind of magic. I'm more of you can call me like a gray. There's black and dark and a gray magician. You can call me like a gray Taoist priest, meaning that I use Taoist magic to help myself and other people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in your tradition, can a location itself hold spiritual energy, or is it always connected to a person or an event?
Yes, a location can, especially if lots of traumatic or emotionally heightened events happen there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even a ghost, it's actually just a recording of an event that managed to be captured by the place and they played out for you like night after night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know, like we have like some of our battlefields.
Yep.
You can feel
Exactly.
the energy.
Civil
Um,
War, Gettysburg. What's the
yeah,
bloodiest battle in Civil War? Wasn't Gettysburg, was it?
it wasn't.
It was, right?
No,
Yeah. Because that's when
Gettysburg was
Lincoln
one of the bloodiest,
made
but
his
I think
made his famous address, right?
yes, Lincoln made his Gettysburg address there. That place I've never been. It's on my bucket list, but some of my friends that I've talked to that have been there said that there's you can feel the energy.
Yes, yeah, it's the energy. Yeah, and there may not necessarily be any more ghosts there. I mean, it could very well be just a recording, as I said. I'll give you a quick example. For example, there was a case where two women, they were walking in the Forbidden Palace, which isn't really that old. It's only 500-year-old building, but it's where the Emperor of China used to live. And somehow they were pulled right back into history because they saw a bunch of women in traditional costume, like acting out a scene, and there was no such filming going on at that time. And and also, so because of that, it's the place that captured the energy and just it's no different from like a video camera playing it back
Yeah.
for you. Yeah.
Almost like we call it residual haunting.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, residual. That's the word.
Yeah. And Gettysburg has a lot of those. There is some, though, actual spirits there that from what I've been told. So, but a lot of Gettysburg, I feel, is residuals.
Yes, yeah. Just because of everyone's heightened emotion at that time, that adds up, right? It accumulates,
Yeah.
right? Because yeah, I mean, it's no different from mass hysteria at a Justin Bieber concert
Yeah.
for
Yep.
teenage girls, right? That's mass hysteria, or for older people at a Elvis Presley concert.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Very true.
right.
Um, so Western paranormal investigators use equipment like EMF readers, thermal cameras. What tools or methods does Taoist practice use to detect or interact with spirits? I know
Great question.
you mentioned the almost like the bowl with the it's like a Ouija board, but is there
Yes,
additional?
yes, there is, and let me show you. It's an app on my phone. Yeah, because I have several phones. One that I use exclusively when I'm in the China, rather the Macau, Hong Kong regions, special administrative regions of China, because I have relatives there, so I do go back every now and then to visit. I'll give you an example. For example, I have a, let me see. Oh, here it is. Yes. For example, this. This is called a luopan, and you might have heard of the Chinese art of geomancy called feng shui.
Yeah.
Right? It literally means wind and water. And this is supposed to show us whether a place has good geomancy or rather good auspicious energy or feng shui.
Oh,
Right. So what we have this is called luopan. And we also have other tools as well. But I think the EM what is it called again? EMF. I think that's a very effective way of sensing a change in the electromagnetic field. And we have something similar too. I don't
oh,
think
very
maybe it's on here. Yeah, I don't think I have it on here because I don't specialize in ghost hunting. I actually specialize in
yeah,
writing talismans
yeah,
because the field of Taoism is so huge that it is virtually impossible to be an expert in every single subfield. So I just
yeah.
focus on things like writing, writing
Writing the
talismans to summon wealth or to improve your health, and that's what
very
I
nice.
mostly do.
Now, you founded your own lineage,
Yes,
Sweet Divine
yes,
Tao. How does your approach to spirit work kind of fit with that?
that's a great question. I have astral projected, meaning in Chinese we call it the spirit leaving the shell, and the shell being our meat bag bodies. And when I did, I saw the reality of the afterlife. And we also have another pair called Nyoto Ma Mian, and it means horse face and cow head. And for anyone who grew up in the Eastern culture, if they see a person with a cow head or horse face upon awakening, they're terrified because that means they're dead. That means that you're looking
Oh,
at the Grim Reapers in the face. And you're supposed to be dragged down to the underworld, what we call the yin world, for judgment. So it's similar to a Christian theology, a Christian perspective.
yeah.
And but the difference is that unlike in Christianity, where you have just one soul and if you're a bad person, you're tormented in hell for all of eternity. The difference is that in Orthodox Taoism and in Buddhism, you're only tortured for a certain amount of time if you've been a bad person. So you'll
So
still
you get,
get tortured. For example, if you were a liar in life, the punishment is very ironic. You would get your tongue ripped out over and over again.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that
because you're a
doesn't sound
slanderer.
pleasant.
No, no. And the pain is like amplified down there. Anyway, but if you're a good person, you don't get tortured. You would simply, it depends on how good you were. Some of us, because there is a goal into Taoism, for those of us who were virtuous enough, who were charitable and, displayed enough decency and probity, we might even be immortalized, meaning that we could come down to earth and help mortals who have problems, right? People would pray to us, like we could be deified as like a minor god, for instance. But for
Yeah.
just the ordinary person, if you have not committed any sort of horrible acts or evil acts in life, then you would not be tortured. Instead, you would cross over the bridge. We call it the Bridge of Sighs, and then you would drink a soup by Lady Monk called the Soup of Forgetting. You would forget everything that happened to you in a previous life because as soon as you cross that bridge, you will be reincarnated. The next thing you know, you will open your eyes in a hospital room coming out of your mother. That is what Orthodox Taoism says. Now, in my own sect, the Sweet Divine Tao, I believe that is just a story. I don't think there is judgment after death, personally, from what I've seen. The only judgment we get is the way we judge ourselves. Because sometimes a lot of it is our own internal hell, it's our own self created hell because of the guilt we felt
Yeah.
because of the ones we have let down, right? Like, we feel guilty because we let people down in life, right? And we don't allow ourselves any to move on or get closure.
Has your training ever put you in a situation where you felt generally in danger?
No, I haven't yet because even during my supernatural encounters, it didn't feel like the spirits were coming after me. It just felt that they were there doing their thing, and it felt like that I was the one bothering them. I had been like I was being intrusive because well I don't normally live in that house that I told everyone about where I saw the ghost, right?
Yeah.
So no, but I do know how to protect myself. There are many different sutras that we can recite in Taoism. The most important one being the Sutra of the Golden Light. And this is the sutra that I practice every single day. And essentially you envision the golden light of the Tao, the what we call the what existed before creation, and that is where we come from, and that there's always a spark of that divinity within us all, and that holy light will protect us. So it doesn't matter if you're like walking through, a creepy graveyard at night or in a haunted house. If you can calm yourself down, if you can calm your mind down enough to recite the sutra and envision the light, the spirits or the evil spirits rather will stay away.
No, I didn't think about that. Yeah, it makes sense though if you can kind of relax yourself and, not be anxious. 'Cause I think the fear kind of feeds the spirits,
Yes.
especially the
Yeah.
malevolent ones.
Yeah. They love to make people afraid. Because
Yes.
if they know you're afraid of them, like they will torture you even more, right? Some
Oh,
of
yes.
them feed on fear. You've seen, you're familiar with the Batman franchise, right? There's a character called Dr. Crane.
Yep.
He becomes a villain called Scarecrow, and he specializes in the psychology of fear and how that can be used against us.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm decently familiar. Now, from your perspective, what does Western paranormal research get fundamentally wrong?
Well, that's a great question. Fundamentally wrong. You mean in terms of the nature of ghosts or just in
Yeah,
general?
and they're how how they're researching them. 'Cause there's a lot of paranormal investigators that their main focus isn't the sensationalize or anything. It's the research. What are they? Capture evidence to make it legitimate. So I was just curious if there was anything you thought that they were getting wrong in their approach.
Yes, there is actually. Come to think of it, a lot of paranormal researchers, I mean, God bless their hearts, they are good people with decent hearts. They want to help the spirits cross over or move on. But I must issue a word of warning to these investigators. Not every spirit wants to move on. Some of them are perfectly content to stay here on Earth because number one, they
Yeah.
don't know where they're going, right? And number two, if they have to reincarnate, they may be against that because who wants to come back and do it all over again? I don't want to learn my ABCs all over again. I don't want to learn how to walk all over again. It's a lot of work. right? So
Yeah.
sometimes you have to let them be, right? Not every spirit wants to cross over.
Okay.
I mean, we think we're crossing over into heaven, and there are different heavens in Taoism. There's 36 different heavens in
Oh,
Taoism. Yeah.
this.
But not everyone deserves to go. So we don't know where you're going. Like you have to face judgment first, or at least you have to be relatively sure of the purity of your soul in order to predict where you'll be going. Because not all heavens are not created equal. Some of them are in the lower realms. What in the West you would call the lower astral plane.
Oh,
These are not good places.
oh, so it's not hell, but it's not like the Western version of
Yes.
heaven.
I would urge everyone to read a book called Vistas of Infinity. And this is actually a very Western account of the different realms of existence. It's about a German man who had a natural affinity for astral projection ever since he was a kid. And he's visited like thousands of these places, and he corroborates what I've seen for myself during my own astral travels. And there are places what we call the lower astral planes that very similar to what the early church fathers would call like hell, like brimstone and hellfire and all that.
Yeah. Oh, so
Yeah, not
that's
because they're getting tortured by someone else, but they're torturing themselves because of what they did.
their own
Uh,
personal kind of
yeah,
hell.
in life. Yeah, exactly. Their own personal hell. Like I think that's where Jeffrey Epstein is at this point. He's been dead for
Most
years now,
likely.
but he keeps making headlines. Just recently, like the fallout has been huge, right? Government officials resigning in the UK, Prince Andrew being stripped of his world titles and getting arrested,
Yes.
right? Like he's
Oh, yes.
caused a huge chain reaction for sure. And that's what I mean by karma. Because we do believe in karma in Taoism, but it's not the karma where if you're a bad person this lifetime, the next lifetime you'll be reincarnated as a cockroach, right? There's no cause and effect there because it's hard to say that your reincarnation as a cockroach was because of your past misdeeds. Like Buddhists believe that we in Taoism are a bit more pragmatic. We believe karma is just cause and effect. For example, if you if you are like, I don't know, Epstein and molest people, well, you're gonna get sued, right? That is his karma. That's his effect,
Yeah.
right? And the cause was his own evil deeds, and the
Yeah.
effect was the trouble he brought, not just to himself, but to everyone associated with him.
Oh, yeah. Because you don't want to be associated with him.
Yeah, yeah. That's the karma. Yeah, and that's why everyone's so eager to distance themselves from him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that's what dominated the news cycle for the past few years. It hasn't
Oh, it
stopped.
has.
You know,
Now, what has Western paranormal researchers got right? Kind of the opposite of what I
another good
asked
question.
before.
A lot of things are right. You'd be amazed at how similar Eastern Western knowledge is when it comes to life after death and the spirits and all that. It's true that like well they've confirmed the existence of ghosts. I mean like I know some of them exaggerate to get more viewers, to get more attention. Some of those TV shows, especially what was it called? Outdoor Ghost Adventures? Is that the most famous one?
No, it's just
Um,
Ghost Adventures.
oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go.
Ghost Adventures.
I think I'm thinking of outdoors because it's on the Outdoor
We
Life
won't go
Network or
into big
something.
detail on that. I'm not a big
Okay.
fan.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Sometimes they over exaggerate to get attention, and that does a disservice to all of us in the occult community. So, but in general, I think what they get right is they document evidence. They go and document it. We have video recordings. We have disturbances in the electromagnetic field. We have electronic voice phenomena. We have actual recording, right? And of course, these are Western inventions, right? The camcorder and
Yeah.
all that. So it's very good that they do that because seeing is believing.
Oh,
I
yeah.
am actually not a person of faith, believe it or not. I mean, some people would feel that that's very shocking. Me, a Taoist priest,
Mhm.
not being a person of faith, but it's true, I'm not. I don't believe something just because I've been told that it exists. I believe it exists because I've seen it with my own eyes. I've felt it with my senses. I need to be convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that something exists. I need to see that ghost to know that a ghost
Yeah.
exists, and therefore there's life after death.
Yeah.
right? It's not good enough to just, have faith because I don't have faith. What I have is evidence.
Yeah.
And even if, so let's say that all the recordings we've seen of supernatural phenomena, let's say that they're like 99% of them are incorrect. But even if one single recording was correct and did indeed accurately capture the existence of a spirit, then it proves beyond anything, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the spirit world is just another aspect of reality called the
Very true.
non-physical reality. Yeah.
Very true. Now, kind of moving on, I have about three more questions for you. The goal of your, from what I understand, the goal of your practice is to escape the cycle of reincarnation. For
Yes.
spirits who haven't escaped, what holds them here according to Taoist teachings?
Lots of things. For one, it's number one, our own addictions. Let's say that in life we were addicted to food or to pleasure or to sex or to gaming or any sort of pleasurable activity, right? We want to continue to stay to experience it because we're addicted. So our
Yep.
addictions is one of our biggest demons. And also fear, right? Because we don't know where we're going.
Okay. That makes sense.
It's the fear of the unknown. I'd rather deal with the devil I know than devil I don't.
Yeah, you want to deal, if you're here, you know what you're facing here as a ghost.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's 36 different, heavens, and you don't know which one you're going to. So
Yeah. And I'll give you
it
a
might be
quick
worse.
example. Oh, yeah. An example would be there was I watch a series called Tan in Mandarin. They speak Cantonese in Hong Kong, and it's a Hong Kong show, and it means like strange talk. And they talk about like strange phenomena, such as, the spirit world. So they have a camera crew and they go all over Asia investigating paranormal phenomena. In one episode, they end up going to Japan where they were able to make contact with four ghosts. So it's like a family, a mom, a dad, and two kids in a haunted house. And they were able to use some Taoist spiritual communication tools to talk to the ghosts. And the ghosts said that we don't want to go anywhere. We all want to stay here, the four of us, and haunt this house. Because if we go towards the light, for example, or we try to move on or cross over, we don't know if the four of us will still be together.
True, yeah. So they'd rather be
Yeah,
together than
yeah,
the
yeah. They'd rather
chance
stick
of
with
them
what they
being
know and be
separated.
a ghost. Yeah,
Yeah.
and be a ghost here, then they'd be separated in the other realms of existence.
Yeah. If someone's watching this is experiencing something in their home they can't explain, what would you tell them to do first?
It depends on what it is, because the first thing I would tell them though is to rule out any natural or physical cause. So, like let's not jump to conclusions. Like I don't automatically assume that it's a ghost causing the disturbance. It could very well be a raccoon. Right. So let's rule that out first. That's my very first advice. And then after that, it really depends on what it is. And they sense is a benevolent ghost or a malicious ghost. Because some ghosts are vengeful spirits and they hate everyone because of what happened to them in life. Maybe they died as a result of of unjust reasons.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's a benevolent ghost, like for example, Casper. I mean, for those of us growing up in the 1990s, we've seen Casper, the friendly ghost, right? So if
Yeah.
it's Casper, I could live with him. Why not, right? But if it's a poltergeist, then we got a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
If he's
true.
throwing things at you in the middle of the night, if he's waking you up, then you got a problem.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
need to deal with that.
Yeah.
So, kind of the last question that I had for you, we're approaching the hour mark. Where can people find you, and what are you currently working on that you'd like people to know about?
I'm at the sweetdivinetao.com and I'm also at Master GongSun Taoism on YouTube. And I'm currently accepting students and disciples. And in fact, I just had a coaching session with one of my first students yesterday. And I'm available for coaching in all basic forms of Taoism, but I'm especially good at writing talismans and at a divination system. We call it Taoist astrology. It's called Ba Zi, or the four pillars. And it's something like, maybe I can show you briefly. Basically, in order to there are around 5 branches of arts and sciences derived from Taoism. And one of them is destiny analysis. So just from knowing your birth particulars, for example, your day, month, year, and time of birth, and location as well, we can figure out what kind of person you likely are, your personality, and what you're likely good at, and where your major life changes will occur. So I'm good at Taoist astrology called Ba Zi, and it means 8 characters. So that's what I'm good at. So if people are interested, they can certainly check that out as well. And I'm working on more videos. I want to, because I've done all my basic introductory videos for to explain the very basic fundamentals of Taoism. So now I'm working on more advanced or intermediate concepts, but I'm open to taking on disciples if people are interested.
Oh, very nice. And I'll make sure to put all of your links in the description below. And so I thank you for coming on to the show. It's been very fascinating. I think I've learned quite a bit today that I didn't really realize. To my subscribers, if today's conversation opened a door you weren't expecting, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Drop your questions or thoughts for Master in the comments. You can find his channel, Master GongSun Taoism. Links will be in the description, as I said. And remember, the past may be gone, but its spirits live on. Thank you for joining me on on this haunted history adventure. Yeah.